Hey guys, it's Dale with the insurance. Today we're going to talk about it's an integral policy that at one point or another, you're certainly going to have. It's home insurance. It's basically an outline of what's covered in your package. The actual title of the article is what is in a standard homeowner's insurance policy. So policies are distilled down into four parts, right? You've got the structure of the home, you've got your personal property, you've got liability, which is really, really important. And then you've got additional living expenses, right? So the easiest is the structure of the home, the bones of the actual home. This is covered up to a limit that you and your insurance company kind of agree on, and it's covered for for typical perils or kind of fire, hail, lightning. Things to note are that flood and earthquake are not covered, right? And then when you're thinking about the limit of your insurance, make sure that it's covered properly, right? Because then you think about the replacement costs for the home, the replacement of the materials, the replacement of the actual cost of the materials, the cost of labor in today's dollars. And that's where, I mean, there's an entire different argument between kind of replacement costs and actual cash value. Typically, replacement cost is the way to go. It's slightly more expensive, but you will be insured for the absolute value of your home, to replace your home with something that is just like it. The second part, or the second section that's covered, is personal property, right? Your personal property and belongings. So that's any furniture, any clothing, any sports equipment, things like that. Once again, there's coverage for any damage to this equipment, for damage that results from any covered peril. So like vandalism, theft, fire, things of that nature. The typical limit is about 50 to 70% of your structural limit. So for instance, if you have a structural limit of 100,000, then your kind of personal property limit would be 50 to 70,000, right? So two things to note with personal property coverage is, one, you have typically what's included in the policy is called off-premises coverage, and this covers your personal property worldwide, right? Very cool coverage. Make sure that you have it. Sometimes it's a toss-in, many times it's included. It's typically about 10% of your limit, your personal belongings limit, but anything that they can offer is obviously a very good deal. The second thing to note is if you have any expensive items, right? So like jewelry, fur coats, or anything like that, collectibles, item limits that are included in the policy are typically 1,000 to 2,000. If that's not enough, then you need to look at adding either an individual insurance floater or an endorsement to the policy to actually cover that specific item up to its value, right? So those are kind of the two things to note there. The third kind of silo of coverage is liability. And in our litigious society today, this is extraordinarily important. This is coverage for you and your family members, including pets, so dogs are included as well, for any bodily injury or property damage that you inflict onto others, right? Typically, coverage for this starts at about 100,000. A lot of people in this day and age increase that to as much as their insurance company is comfortable with. Things to note here is if you're still not comfortable, let's say your insurance company is only comfortable giving you $300,000 worth of limit, liability limit, then you may want to add on an umbrella policy to layer on top of your liability coverage from your home insurance. And this coverage pays for kind of any lawsuits that stem from any bodily injury damage or property damage, or lawsuits that come from those instances, and any awards that a judge finds you liable for. So very good coverage there. The last silo of coverage, additional living expenses, it's exactly what it is. If your house is being repaired or rebuilt and it's unlivable at the time, you get coverage for any kind of hotel related expenses, restaurant expenses. Things to note under this coverage is that you can also receive lost wages or any lost rents. Maybe perhaps you were renting out part of your home. You can get coverage for that as well. So those are kind of the 4 different compartments that a typical home insurance policy is divided into. So you got your structure, you got your personal property, you've got your liability, and you've got your additional living expenses. Hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you next week.